I-beam support structure designed to hold up these buildings, probably while they're being restored. But imagine what a beautiful building this was, and how lovely it'll be if they do restore it, with a cupola up on top. Again, remember, when you're wandering in these cities, look up on top. That's often where the most interesting architectural elements are. Again, you have to use your imagination to try to reconstruct the grandeur of this little building, a wood structure. A great bit of detail underneath this balcony, but we can only grasp at the hints of it that are still exposed from the supports. I'm going to just loosely wander slowly through some of the detail here. Again, like so much, you have to somehow take the elements and pretend in your mind that you're able to reconstruct the whole as it might have looked at originally. To an Arab, this panel might have some great significance. I don't know what it is, but perhaps those are concise versions of key elements of the Quran. A small little section above the door of this shop. But what a quaint design it was to have two cabinets or small window-like wood frames for his business sign, which is elaborately done, I imagine, on either copper or brass. Thin plate, copper it looks like. This man has given me permission to take a video of his hookah shop. This is what men will smoke either at home, various fragrant tobaccos, or in the various tea shops. Okay, I've walked all the way down this street. Now I've come back and I'm going to walk down through here to see this gate. But also there was a sign saying Nagm coffee shop, which is the Egyptian author. Very interesting design here for this little tea shop. I can't help imagining how cool it would be to buy one of these sets and take them home and install it in my condo. These are probably decorations for your home or maybe the outside of it, I'm not sure. But look at the detail in that work and what it takes to round that stuff out, form it into a ball, and then punch all that detail through it. It must be very time-consuming. So many towns everywhere seem to have had gates, perhaps always for a defensive purpose, but sometimes maybe just to define the community. This would have been what the outsider saw coming in, perhaps. Would have been more dramatic when it was originally painted, I suspect, but pretty nonetheless. You can again see by looking closely that it would have had a very pretty detail to it. Looks like there's been some shifting in the stonework over time. Certainly tourists could buy these and hang them in their home, and that would be a very nice tourist souvenir. It's a very elaborate carving. Almost looks like Christian in nature, like it were something to do with an organ. Not only a broad display of the usual shtick, quiche stuff of the tourists, but probably a great deal of beautiful antiques. And look at the inside here. Yes. the man points out, it's more a museum than a shop. Beautiful inlaid furniture. Boy, looking at the antiques of a culture, particularly an old culture that goes back 5,000 years, adds a whole new dimension to the concept of antique. But the building itself is spectacular on the inside. You can only imagine what it might have been used for initially, or who took the time and the imagination to create this. Look at the spectacular chandelier. Where would that have come from? Not this one up close, but the one back behind. See if I can pan down so you can see it. Here an interesting view of what look like a couple of mosques. There's a certain amount of tension still in the air here this morning as these folks begin to assess the damage that's occurred. So this is the Mosque of Al Azhar, Barsbay. I'm right about where my finger is right now, and here's the spice market right ahead there on the left, but I imagine it's closed because this is their Sunday. You know you're at the spice market because you can smell it immediately.
Best.
Ah, yes. So this is Mariam, and this is anise. Tastes like licorice in English. This is for tea. I've had this tea.
Better in tea, nice.
Many things.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing with this stuff. It can be very good, I'm sure. Destruction is wholesale around here. Anything that could be broken is. That's the problem with the mob, like the French Revolution. A good concept, but then they taint it, to use a very benign word. Hey, just to orientate myself, the first knuckle of my thumb is on the Mosque Hussein. My back is facing that, and I'm standing over here at about just the tip of my thumb now. So as I raise the camera, we'll be looking at the Mosque Al Azhar to the left, and the Mosque of Abu Dahab to the right. So this is the Mosque of Al Azhar. It was built in 970 AD. It was one of the oldest in Egypt. And I don't know why there's a multiplicity of towers or minarets, but there are. I don't know what the significance of it is. They are elegant pieces. We'll get a little bit closer in here. We can look at them. They certainly reflect man's aspiration to get closer to their God. So this is the renowned Fishawy coffee house. Again, the extravagant carving detail.
No.
There's simple gate. Who knows what might have been up above there. And we'll see what's on the other side of it. Remember, we're on the inside. Now, what's interesting as we look at this are those little doorways underneath those false arches, if you will. Probably at one time some kind of a globed lighted device hung down from there. And maybe the height of the wall was just below those windows, so they served a function on the other walls. Here's some of that detail. Reminds me of the wood carving I saw that reminded me of something to do with organs in a church to a building. But very pretty. I wonder what that ring in the center there was for. Substantial enough it held probably some kind of a lighting device. Maybe the same thing that wood bracket once held. Just want to get a look at the thickness of those doors and then the size of those hasps. And you can see that it once held a wooden device. So this presumably is the inside. You can see by those metal rings that this once had a gate or doorway inside the frame of the door arch. This old gate, interesting. Again, a ring up there that held something. And then 3 windows here. Now that's a pretty thick gate, probably 40 feet in width, so probably there were rooms and so forth up there. We'll walk inside here, take a look at the side. So this would have been the inner wall, apparently. And another look at the massiveness of those doors, probably 4 inches thick. What look like solid planks of wood, held together with bands of riveted iron. This is just opposite the outside of the first gate that I looked at, but a very pretty building. Has a rooftop. And if this were a residence, I wonder if that slit is for women to be able to look outside. Or that screened window up there for the same purpose. Here above this shop, I'll just pan. Someone's done some little bit interesting tile work. Create a very Egyptian pharaonic motif. Footage. This man, who's the caretaker of this small mosque, solicited me on the street to visit it, since that's a relatively rare thing for a foreigner, not to mention a non-Muslim person, to be allowed to do. I took advantage of it.
The mosque upstairs, you have a school, that's Sabil-Kuttab.
From Madrassa?
From Madrassa. That's one for water.
And water is for purification?
Yes, purification. And after work here, I show the other mosque, have Kalum, have a mini mosque, I'll show you.
Okay, now we're inside the main prayer room. And I'll just try and pan around slowly. Here a balcony. Don't know what that purpose is there. Okay, here we're looking at, I think is the altar, or is the altar or pulpit?
All this here, mother of pearl.
Ah, mother of pearl inlay.
All handmade wall. Piece by piece, one by one.
So this is the tomb here of the man, Barsbay. And he's inside here?
Yes, the lady here. The man here.
Oh, and this woman here?
Yes.
توم الشيخ مطهر الفاطمي
950 years old.
الفاطمي دام أملة مملوكة.
So herein lies the man.
Yes, المملوكة.
The man took me inside this mosque. That's what we've just seen. The mosque we just went in is right on this corner, upper corner. Mosque of UTHAR, I think it is. There's the mosque that I was just in, and this would have normally be the gold and silver market, but again it's a Sunday so it's not open. The people milling around here are here because they're assessing and reacting to the damage from last night's demonstration. This bazaar is located right where you see the 23. So this is the Kalum Mosque and Mausoleum, and Madrassa. It's a very large building complex, as you can see. But again, compared to a cathedral, cathedrals could be of this size overall or greater, but they would be incredibly more elaborate. Even on the inside, they're extremely simple, if not dramatically so. There's the mosque that we were inside. Now, had this been a working day, this is the Coppersmith market, and all this would be displaying their wares. And this that we're looking at is the Madrassa and Mausoleum of Al-Azhar, right across the street from the Kalum Mausoleum. Here what's interesting are these big metal windows. Again, the interesting design but otherwise very simple exterior of this religious complex. Now I'm panning on the Kalum Mausoleum and Madrasa again. And it's interesting there, the color, the most dramatic of color, comes from the use of different material, like different colored rock. I think that probably is marble or something of that nature. There is detail along that border there, and there is a red tint to it, as though sometime in the past it had been painted, but I don't know. I wonder what this particular peculiar structure for here is at the corner. I'm thinking that perhaps it just reflects the original grade when this was built, and all the elevation that I'm walking on is just increased due to the debris that happens in any civilization over 1,000 or more years. You can see considerable erosion here of these pillars, at the base anyway. There is some interesting small detail here, achieved by just turning the metal into spirals. Here an interesting street, but this vehicle, not able to get away, suffered considerable damage. Totally unnecessary, so it has nothing to do with those people who were riding, unless they just perceived that person as having wealth. So this is now either the Egyptian Textile Museum or the Nahhasin School, or both. Egyptian Textile Museum. Some more of Kalum. You wonder what the motivation was for the subsequent additions to this. Whether it was followers of the famous person who continued to be motivated to add over the centuries. Very great detail on this minaret, a rather stubby minaret. Now I'm going to come back slowly down through this and then expand out so we can see the door, an entrance which is very dramatic, very much like a Christian church. I mean, that you'd see in Europe or anywhere else. Just shooting quickly up to this dramatic part of this mausoleum and mosque. Very interesting part. One can only wonder what is behind it. So I've been thinking this is part of Kalum, but this portion is apparently of Barquq complex. Very substantial minaret and a very large, impressive dome. Again, you can see that a differentiation color is apparently as a result of the material. And this is apparently the dividing line between these two structures, the Kalum, but I'm not sure that that's true. This could be part of it here. Can't tell. Anyway, here's the front entrance. Again, this almost stalactite dripping motif carving here. What it stands for, I don't know. Here we'll get a close pan look at the detail at ribbons. And then the front door. The panel at the top probably is in Arabic. The doors are very heavy metal, but they appear to be pieces or chunks of, like you can see here, like these were individual castings that were designed to be implanted inside of this more elaborate casting. Same with these small ones here. And then this is apparently one or more pieces. It looks like this would have been like silver coated or something. And some of these are the silver coating and getting down to the brass. But they were originally painted either a green color or that's richly oxidized, I don't know which. Nails have been used to hammer these pieces back in place. Now this looks very much like some of the buildings in Cusco, Peru, believe it or not, without the extravagant detail but made out of wood. Very beautiful. I want to get some more detail on this Barquq minaret because it looks very interesting. I wonder what it's like inside. It must be stairways. Looks like that portion right there had been painted blue once before. It's too bad because otherwise Cairo is so incredibly drab of color. Perhaps as a palace, those wooden balconies gave the occupants, principally women, an opportunity to view the outside world and not let the outside world view them. This is the Sabil-Kuttab of Abdel, Rahman, Katkhuda. I think that means a house. Although I thought house was B-E-I-T. But a very interesting place, whatever it is. And just turning to my right, I see another gate entrance I want to go down and just take a quick look at. Very simple entranceway to what would have been an earlier complex of some sort. You can see that it's almost like a fortress wall structure. Here a tree that exists in the midst of all of this grime for whatever reason. It's a very pretty building. This area is somewhat maintained, relatively speaking. And then there's a silver shop here. This looks like the equivalent of a barbecue, but for tea. And that's just a guess on my part. All hand stamped, I'm sure. You can see where you would hang the cups. And here's the water to come out here, probably heated. Some of these shots just make for interesting shots. This would be the ideal cooking set for a housewife. There's some mighty big pots there. The Latinos would love these. Much of this is just very pretty architecture. This area kind of neat and clean, relatively speaking. This whole street down through here is apparently for metal workers. These are impressive, the kind of thing you'd expect to find at the top of a huge mosque minaret. I have a rickety banister up there, but I doubt it's ever used. Another look inside. You can see how simple it is. Columns. Those look very Greek columns there. I don't know whether this is a sewer line or a water line. I just thought this eaves motif very, very lovely. Imagine that on your condo or your home. I don't know if this reflects a modern or traditional style, but it certainly is a very clean, elegant, understated, even though the detail is beautiful in the woodwork. To me, this structure just reeks of class. Understated class. You can only imagine what they've done with the inside. Rich, opulent, maybe the exact opposite of what we're seeing on the outside. I can't get over the loveliness of this wood-carved detail. This is called the Bayt el Suhaymi area, and it's also spelled B-E-I-T. And this was a man's home. Probably would have been very colorful when that were cleaned and or painted, that surface. And I'm going to pan horizontally past these doors and the other doors, panels of the home, because in this instance it's what's on the bottom floor that is most interesting. Notice a totally different kind of wood, it appears, like probably stained. And then I don't know if that metalwork is painted or not. And I wonder if the fish motif was the motif of the owner of the home at one time. Perhaps some significance either as to his trade or his name. My guess is that I'm now wandering into a very nice residential neighborhood that is well maintained on the outside and on the inside. Very nice wrought iron balconies. Very tranquil street. Reminds you of Europe, frankly. Particularly this wainscoting here. Interesting here how they have provided for stopping vehicles or making it difficult for vehicles, and yet providing a way for hand carts and others to get over that hump easily. So we'll wander down here a bit. Notice those electrical connections right up to snuff. Wire to wire, that works. This just has the ring of a nice little neighborhood where kids play safely and wander by themselves safely. Trash is picked up probably at reasonable times, swept out of the way when it hasn't been picked up yet. And this is the street where we just shot the making of the pots. So it doesn't take a lot of imagination to guess that this is probably a manufacturing facility, or at the least a processing facility. Okay. These guys are showing me how it gets done. Oh yeah. That's where they're made. Just in a little room like this, he will make one component on these big heavy machines. Some part, and then probably makes the edge or even cuts it. You can see it there. This is some kind of a finishing stage here. And these guys are coming with some more stuff. There's a layout of this little district. And to see the house, which is down on the left, which I may come back next week and do, is 30 pounds, about $6, somewhere in that realm. This is the entry gate of the Mosque of Sultan SILDAR. Again, it had some original, very pretty work on the eaves and on the detail at the top, more so than some of these places do. A very hazy, light green. Closer look at this detail. Third world countries, a great deal of work is done by raw labor. Okay, what we're now doing is traveling up these two parallel roads that go from lower left to upper right, more or less. We're traveling up the left one. And we've gotten up to about right in here, the one we just saw. And now I'm right at this intersection, and I just noticed an interesting building down there I want to take a look at, so I'm going to take a little side look. Here's some color, which is kind of neat to see. Some faded yellows and faded greens, but at least there's color. This building may well be abandoned, I don't know, but you can see that it had original, very pretty design elements and concepts in it. That arched area with that arched balcony up on top. So this is called a shisha, or water pipe. Shisha.
I can write it.
Sure.
Shisha.
Okay, shisha.
Arabic, shisha.
No, thank you. Because,
Motorbike.
no.
Where
So,
you from?
so here he sucks in on it, and he's able to bring air down and the bubbling down into there. Yeah,
Eight boiling before World War?
yeah. And then he brings in the smoke up there. Yeah. Where is the tobacco in here?
Here.
Ah, okay. Oh, I see. Ah, okay.
Because
Ah.
this tobacco is named Masil.
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 Wow.
It's named Masil.
And where is the fire?
Here.
That
this
is
one.
that's the
Yeah.
charcoal.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yes.
Where's the tobacco?
This one. This one.
Ah, okay, okay. Ah, I see. Huh. A very inviting little street, residential, I'm sure. I think those little yellow kiosks may be for a guard. I see them around a little bit, but the trees alone make that a welcoming area, and you see people just lazily working their way. It's relatively neat and clean. Other foliage there to add some beauty to it. And I'm guessing these are for security police, although I think they're manned by anybody who wants to sit in them. And one of the things you notice right off here is how relaxed, how clean it is. Unlike the main market where everything is one colossal mess. Of course, it just underwent a rather violent demonstration last night. You certainly get the sense of a fortress here. Next to the Mosque of Al-Hakim, and ahead of us here is the walls. That's the tower. That big square tower is Bab al-Futa, which is the western tower. Here you have a view of it in the photo or in the map. Okay, so we're now at Coptic Cairo. And that's this dark area in the area inside of it. And we've just entered in, and here we're going to see what we can see. Sadly, the Coptic community in Cairo is often prey to violent attack. Okay, I'm right across the street from the little place that I have Kossery. It's over there. And these gentlemen, and we're in a pastry shop, and they have asked me to video them. So I am. So I will show this to my friends in America. America? Yes. But she does not want me, so I cannot shoot. So we paid 50 pounds to not be able to get in, except in this part here. I don't know what this part of the building is or what it was. It's an interesting structure here. You can see there's several different levels. It must have been perhaps an older edifice. This is all that remains of it. And then there is another structure, probably something, since this is a Coptic Christian place, it'd be something equivalent to, but not the same as a mosque. Seen from another angle, this building, this round building, is an old Roman tower. And this building, I'm not sure what it is, but it's a Coptic church for sure. The whole facility is closed, although you can walk around inside the complex itself. So I don't know if this is another Roman tower or what, because we can't get in to look at it. All this has been newly cemented, so. We're now working our way back from Coptic Cairo. And just shooting some rough footage just for the fun of it. This is a public holiday primarily for the purpose of hoping that the demonstration will diffuse itself today. Logic would suggest it can do either one, diffuse it or give people plenty of opportunity to get reorganized to continue. Yes, please.
Okay, sir.
Notice that much of the world uses the streets as a sidewalk. This is part of the old aqueduct here?
Yeah, this is Ecuador, yeah.
Aquadoria.
Ecuador take water from Nile to Citadel Muhammad Ali Mosque. And Muhammad Ali not give it Citadel, he's give it Citadel Salah ad-Din al-Ayyub. This is the leather fabric here. Here is leather fabric.
It's hard to appreciate the size and the power of the Roman Empire at its height until you visit these giant monuments like this aqueduct that are strewn all over the Mediterranean.
العنبر هو اللي بتطلع له السلم ده فوق.
From Cairo, from the U.S. Embassy out to the airport in the hopes of perhaps getting a U.S.-sponsored plane to one of several different cities outside of Egypt, and from there I'll make a decision as to where and what I do. And my driver tells me that we are looking at the Citadel right now, which is as close as I'm going to get to it for another year or so, and then I'll come back. This passing glance of the city of the dead, where many people live, particularly as times are difficult. I never made it back to Egypt, and I never will for two reasons. One, the turmoil in the Middle East and the terrorist threat in Egypt persisted for quite a few years, until number two, I had prostate cancer, and the result of that eliminated any travel. Ironically, in response to my doctor's misplaced assurances that I would travel again, I prepared a complete itinerary for another Egyptian trip, period. While I won't make that trip, the itinerary can be found in my blog under Egypt.